Hi, my name is Mike Schlossberg, born May 15th, 1983, and I am participating in the Allentown Public Library's efforts to record personal histories and personal stories of the time of COVID-19, and I'm really glad to be able to do it. So, a little bit of background about me. I am 37 years old. I'm a resident of Allentown. I'm married to my wife Brenna. We have two children, Oren and Ayla, 9 and 7. My full-time job, which is where you are right now, is to serve as state representative for the 132nd Legislative District. For people who are watching this many years from now, that is West Allentown, the northern tier of the city, most of the east side, and about 3/8 of South Whitehall Township. It is July the 21st. We are more or less casual in my office, which we only got back into on a regular basis a few weeks ago. And it has been a fascinating, horrifying, and enlightening past few months, and I'm really glad to be able to do this. The line that I said to my kids when this thing first started was, I want you guys to remember every moment of this that you can, because not only are we going to get through this one day, eventually, but your kids and your grandkids will interview you about the great COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. It's interesting because, despite the fact that I'm a state representative, that I'm an active participant in policymaking at the governmental level, like everybody else, we sort of heard things in rumors and snippets. I have a signal group of other state representatives that I'm close with. And it was actually through this group that I first realized just how severe COVID was going to be when we started talking about the Imperial College of London study that showed that 2 million people could die as a result of this in London alone. Um, I first found out because I was paying it more than anything else, paying attention to the news and in constant communication with my representative colleagues, as well as members of the executive branch. The mandatory closings more or less came down in a press conference, if I'm remembering correctly, where we started having conversations about the now infamous green and yellow and red zones of Pennsylvania businesses. Lehigh County, where we are at, was one of the hardest hit counties. I was a very quick and loud supporter of people staying home as much as humanly possible. It was apparent to me very quickly in looking at some of the data and some of the science that I was able to grab between talking to my colleagues, looking on the internet. Social media in particular was very useful to me as it made me aware of some of the studies and some of the things that governmental units were saying. It became very apparent very quickly we needed to shut down. I remember at the beginning of March when it first started to hit me just how severe this was going to be, tweeting out we have to cancel everything. And the day for me that will live in infamy is March the 12th, when much of the country started shutting down, when Pennsylvania started shutting down. I think that was around when our first case hit the Lehigh Valley in Northampton County. I will never forget, as long as I live, my kids' last day of school. My kids, and it was Friday, June 13th. My kids go to Jewish day school, which is only zero point 0.7 miles from my house. And my wife is a teacher in the Allentown School District. She had been canceled that Wednesday because there was a potential of a case, and so they shut down Allentown School District Thursday and Friday with the intent of going back Monday. But we walked to pick up my kids who had a half day on Friday, March 13th. And I remember getting them and thinking to myself, this is it for the school year. And walking back with them, texting my superintendent in Allentown, and the school closures were just starting to fire more and more rapidly. Where York County just canceled, everything in the county just canceled, Philadelphia just canceled, and the state shut down the schools. And this all happened while I was walking with my kids, and it really epitomized just how quickly things were moving. And it was moving so fast that you couldn't keep up. And it was fascinating and it was terrifying. Because you like to pretend if you're in the government you have some degree of control over events. We had absolutely none. We were a complete victim of events, and all we could do, all I felt like I could do in my role was at that moment was encourage people to get home. Daily life is different now in mid-July than it was at the beginning. At the beginning of this, we had completely shut down my legislative office. We had nobody in here, including staff, for 3 months. It was all emails and phone calls and using my cell phone, my lifeline of the real world. How is it? Daily life now is very different. So we try to keep people out of my office to an extent. So I'll work from home the first part of the day, come into my office now the second. As you can see, we're all dressing casually again. Um, it has been, this job got a lot harder because my entire life more or less has been about helping to process people's unemployment claims. Well north of 1 million people were unemployed and still are, and the unemployment system has been so overwhelmed. And it's been hard listening to people's stories because people who are entitled to money, who need money, can't get it because the system has just been so overwhelmed. We went to an appointment-only model in my office. We installed plexiglass at our front reception desk, and that's why we're now starting to take people. But it's been primarily phone calls, emails, and Zooms. That's been the biggest adjustment to my work routine. My home routine, every day at 9:35 to 9:45, my wife and I will do a daily video on my representative page. It's prepared by staff. It's become kind of the cornerstone of my workday, where we talk about the latest news. It's alive on Facebook, so we answer as many questions as we possibly can. And it's been fun because it feels like it helps keep me connected to people that I don't get to see face to face anymore. And that's hard. I'm surprised I'm getting a little choked up, but I miss people. I am a politician. I'm an elected official. I really miss people. I miss going to restaurants. I miss going to events. I miss glad handing and doing the man hug where you shake hands and you hug. I'm campaigning for re-election right now, or at least I should be, and I can't go door knocking, and that hurts. Can't go to the gym anymore. I'm a gym rat. I've taken up running, and that's been a godsend. If I hadn't taken up running, I'd be out of my mind because the gym and physical fitness is so necessary to my mental health. We'll come back to that shortly. And we always make a point every night to walk our dog. That dog that we own, my wife, my kids, and I, has been an absolute godsend. And we've explored different sections of our neighborhood. We've walked down more alleys than we ever had. And that part's been really nice, I have to say. The thing that I have seen so consistently, and we talk about it in the daily videos that we do, is so many normal people are doing extraordinary things. I come back to mask wearing in the Lehigh Valley, a group of people when it first became really apparent just how frighteningly low we were in personal protective equipment. A group of volunteers started making masks for hospitals. Now the hospitals at this moment are okay, so they've turned to making them for kids and for all sorts of nonprofit groups. And we've seen so many people rise to the occasion. At the same time, because so much of our interactions have been online, I have seen so many people be so god-awful to each other. And the thriving of the conspiracy theories and denying of science has just really, it's been frightening. And that part's been disheartening. I just want to throw Facebook out the window. That would probably be for the best, I think, if I did that. In the long run, I'll be really curious to see how this will impact mental illness. Mental illness is typically directly related to financial circumstances and a real life stress. And there's no question that so many people from a financial perspective are hurting. We hear all the time about isolation and about rises in anxiety and fear. What is my world going to look like? What is my family's life going to look like? What am I going to do when my kids go back to school? My wife is a teacher, like I said, in Allentown. She's really nervous about it. She has every right to be. I worry about the future, but I'm also really lucky, and I know in talking to my constituents who don't have as much access to resources or help, they're worried too. And it is that fear and that isolation and the lack of social contact. We as humans are social beings, and I worry about what other people are going to experience. Um, yeah. From a governmental perspective, I can speak for me and I can speak for my friends. This has simultaneously been the worst and the best time that I've ever had as a public official. And I've never had a more stressful moment in my life, not even remotely close. Because, believe it or not, the vast majority of us, Democrat or Republican, are decent, empathetic people. We care about our constituents, and when they hurt, we hurt. And I have spoken with constituents who were in the middle of moving and are now terrified because their unemployment payments aren't coming through, that they're not going to be able to close on their new home. I have spoken with constituents who have run out of food. I've spoken with constituents who haven't gotten a dime's worth of money that they should get in 4 months. And it hurts. But we've been in a position to help people. And that's, again, vast majority of folks, Democrat, Republican, we want to help people. We want to do good things. There has never been a time in my life where I've been more scared about the events of the world. And more scared for the people that I represent. So if there's anything else I want other people to know, it's that for people in government, we're human too. And the lives of our constituents affect us deeply. And I worry for them. And we're trying to make their lives better. I hope, to those of you who are listening, be it a year from now or 50 years from now, can really get some insight. It's strange to know that I might be talking to somebody right now long after I'm gone. And that's a very bizarre experience to know that I'm recording something for history. So I hope that what we have spoken about has been insightful. This moment has been fearful, but it's also been filled with opportunities. To spend 4 months in a home with my children and with my wife and with my dog has been a godsend. But I'm one of the lucky ones, and I hope that I have used my job at this moment and will continue to do so in the future if things do get worse, as I think they will. I hope that I've used my job and the privilege that I have to help other people. That's what we're here for.